So it's finally upon us, the last set of fixtures in the Scottish Premiership this season before the split, which teams will be in that top six vying for the remaining European places, and which teams will find themselves in the bottom six in a case of either just floundering for the rest of the season with nothing really to play for if they're too far ahead of relegation, or trying to fight finishing in one of those two dreaded places of 12th or 11th, where it might see you head down into the Scottish Championship. Of course, today we've also seen some controversy surrounding potential restructures of the Scottish Premiership going forward, taking it from a 12-team league to a 10-team league, meaning that we would no longer have the split, although we would see each team play each other 4 times in a season. I don't think, based off of the feedback that has been given for it, that was the type of restructuring that people were after in the league, but I don't actually see how that would get passed personally. That's my own opinion on it. I don't think the clubs would vote to restructure it to a 10-team league only. I don't see why the lower end of the table teams would do that. I think they would be more likely to vote for a restructure to increase the size of the league. But without further ado, let's get to the predictions for this weekend's fixtures. Starting off with Dundee against St Mirren. I think there's a reason that the odds are so close. It's a pretty difficult one to predict. Dundee fighting for their Premiership lives to try and finish ahead of that 11th place spot, and St Mirren also wanting to get themselves once again into those top 6 spots and potentially, just like they did this season, get some European football coming to Paisley. However, in my opinion, this one is a pretty tough one to call. I think that's what it says in front of you with those betting odds as well. Dundee, of course, last time out, taking Rangers to the brink in what was arguably the game of the season, but St Mirren not doing too bad last time out too, winning 5-1 against Kilmarnock in the end. And I think this would maybe be a good time to mention that my predictions were pretty accurate for the last time around, so let's see how I get on this time around. But on to this fixture in particular. Will Dundee be able to get to the same heights as their Rangers performance, or will the heads have dropped a little bit after losing such a late goal to lose that game? And not to mention St Mirren, will they kick on from the confidence of blowing away Kilmarnock? I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw in this game. Next up, we have Kilmarnock, who were on the end of that drubbing from St Mirren, and Motherwell, who were on the end of a drubbing from Aberdeen. So both teams will be looking to change their fortunes around in this fixture. Which one will be the one to accomplish that, though? I'm not sure that we will see one accomplish it, but I am going to back Kilmarnock to bounce back and get themselves a 2-1 win, just because it's at Rugby Park. If it was the other way around, I think Motherwell would probably have come away with the win as well, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this game finish in a draw. So Kilmarnock potentially getting themselves some valuable points to stop themselves from finishing in that 11th, or if some dramatic collapse happened, 12th place spot, and Motherwell, similar to St Mirren with the draw, missing out on those top 6 places. Rangers against Hibs, interesting fixture indeed. This is Rangers' first home game in a couple, and like I've discussed in other ones, it's not their home form that's been the bother, it's not their away form that's been the bother as of late. It's the home form that's been tricky. 4 games on the bounce they've lost at Ibrox without scoring a goal in open play, if you don't count the penalty shootout. You could count the penalty shootout as a win personally. I don't. They were beaten in that leg, and then it went to penalties and they got through the penalty shootout. So what is the result of this one going to be? Rangers, of course, have a European fixture on the horizon that they could potentially look to prepare for. Hibs, high motivations to get as many good results as possible this season for the remainder of the season to secure that 3rd place spot, and hopefully, for in their case, that guaranteed European place for them. and the fact that Hibs, out with the loss to Celtic in the Scottish Cup, are still going strong in the league in terms of unbeaten runs. I am actually going to back Hibs to win this game by 2-1. Hibs to win 2-1. That could be the one that lets me down this weekend, but I'm going to go with the mitigating factors of Hibs wanting to get that third place finish, Rangers having the European fixture coming up. I am going to go for a Hibs win. On to Ross County and Aberdeen. Ross County on the end of a 1-0 defeat to Dundee United, while Aberdeen, of course, coming away with a bit of a convincing victory, most convincing victory they've had in a little while, against Motherwell. Aberdeen will be looking to keep as close to Hibs as possible and potentially, despite having that collapse mid-season, still finish third with how good they started the season. Ross County, their top 6 hopes are pretty much dashed. They would be one of the teams as it stands that potentially could be floundering with nothing to gain after the split, although they're not too far ahead, of course. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Aberdeen win here. I believe they'll keep in touch and distance with Hibs, and if Hibs do end up losing, even better for Aberdeen. On to potentially what is the most meaningless game of the weekend. We have first place against 12th place. I mean, St Johnstone, of course, have way more to gain than Celtic from this fixture in terms of survival, and it is a wee bit of a taster of our Scottish Cup semi-final with these two, of course, though I don't see St Johnstone picking up anything from this game, unfortunately, for St Johnstone. I think Celtic will be looking to kick on from their strong performance against Hearts at home and want to, for their sake, win as many games as possible for the remainder of the season and, of course, try and come away with the treble. And I say this is the most meaningless game of the weekend because it is, Celtic are too far in front. For me, St Johnstone are too far behind. So this one obviously has the least amount of impact on the table for the weekend. So I am going to go for, I don't want to be too harsh on St Johnstone, but 4-0 Celtic in this game. And on to our final game of the weekend, Hearts versus Dundee United. Hearts, of course, off the back of a 3-0 loss to Celtic, and Dundee United a 1-0 win against Ross County. Dundee United, of course, further ahead in the table than Hearts, but that was down to Hearts' awful start to the season. There's a reason I think Hearts are being given favourites for this game. There have been several games in this late run of games for Hearts that they should have come away with more than what they got. The standout one there was probably the 3-1 loss to Rangers, where Rangers only actually scored 1 goal of their own in that game. And if you know, you know. But I do believe Hearts will go out there with the biggest intent of the two teams because of the fact that they are in that precarious position of 6th place. From what I can gather, the way that I've said that the rest of the results will go anyway, I don't think Hearts would drop out of that 6th place spot, even if they lost this game. But I do think they want to get themselves in a position where 6th place is not the highest they hope to finish by the end of the season. And they want to get themselves into one of those European positions as well. And the way that the split has worked out this time, it looks like, no disrespect to Kilmarnock and St Mirren from this season. Of course, Kilmarnock did get it to a playoff stage as well. But I do believe that the way it's panning out at the moment, should we get the likes of the order of Celtic, Rangers, Hibs, Aberdeen and Hearts in those European places, I believe it is the biggest chance we've had in a long time to be able to get a maximum contingent of teams in the European group stages, which would be terrific for Scottish football. And that's something that I think we need, that set of teams to be there. Dundee United, I just think that, they've exceeded expectations this season. I don't think that they would be one of the better candidates to finish in that place. And of course, with the way that Hibs are at starts of the seasons, not to say that Hearts went the same, but I think if Hibs were to finish third and Celtic do win the Cup, Hibs being the guaranteed team in Europe, I think Hearts and Aberdeen would have a better chance in the playoffs than Hibs would personally. But I'm going to go for a 2-0 Hearts win in this game. I know we've rambled on a wee bit at that point, but that's what I'm going to go for. And that's going to wrap up the prediction video. Let's see if I can get it pretty spot on like I did in the last prediction video. Please check out the other content on the channel, like the SPFL RTG, gameplay videos, other videos as well, tier lists, that sort of thing. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more, and I'll catch you in the next one.